When I was a young kid, I remember having all sorts of different health issues, starting with, at a really young age, gut issues. So as young as 5 years old, I would have pain, I would have gas. At the time, I didn't think much of it because I didn't know anything else. It was just kind of part of my experience. As I got a bit older, around the age of 8, I started to have really debilitating seasonal allergies. I remember one day on the spring day at school when we would all go out into the garden and be around all the flowers and the blossoming trees and whatnot, I was having the worst allergy attack that I remember in my entire life. I had itchy eyes, itchy ears, itchy throat. I was in the bathroom. My eyes were totally pink. I was washing water over them, and it was pretty miserable. I didn't know anything else, though. It was just my experience of the world, but I knew other kids weren't having these symptoms. So I went to the allergist, and they, did all the tests, and they told me just to take Claritin or Zyrtec, just gave me a prescription. Later on, I started to get really bad headaches around middle school, so 10, 11, 12 years old. I was having really debilitating migraines. One day I had such a bad headache, I went to the nurse. She said, "Oh, you're fine, go back to class." And I went back to class. I was so miserable. The sound was overwhelming. The lights were overwhelming and everything. And I went back to the nurse. I said, I'm in so much pain. So my dad came to pick me up from school. And as we walked outside, I actually vomited on the curb. It was that severe of a migraine at that point. And this was fairly regular, not that severe, but it was really, really rough. So for the headaches, the pediatrician doctor just told me to take Advil, for example, no inquiry into the root cause. For the gut issues, I eventually went to a gastroenterologist. They told me to take Tums, an antacid medication. That was it. So Western medicine really didn't dive deep. Now, my mom, fortunately, was really alternative thinking, and she took me to a naturopath who prescribed a specific diet to cleanse my gut of yeast and all these things. And it helped a bit, but ultimately my symptoms still persisted once I came off this diet. And ultimately I was just in the same place going into high school around age 13, 14, really struggling. The symptoms had all gotten worse. I was trying to be a normal kid. I wanted to have a girlfriend. I wanted to be a normal person and play sports and everything. And it was making it difficult. I still did my things, but it was challenging. And so I began then researching on the internet everything I could possibly find, because I started to get this idea that maybe something was wrong with my gut, having all these gut issues. And I came across this idea of diet, the paleo diet. And I started dieting and I started eating cleaner, and I felt so much better within just a couple of days. I became so obsessed as a result with diet, thinking that it was the be-all end-all solution for me. After around a year of dieting, I had gotten so obsessed and extreme because when I hit a plateau, I just started getting stricter and stricter and stricter. And I thought if I was absolutely perfect on my diet, all the rest of my symptoms, I'd go from, let's say, 70% to 100%, I'd be set. But actually the reverse happened. I started feeling worse and worse and worse because I became so obsessed about everything I was putting into my mouth. It was almost like an orthorexia, a kind of obsessive compulsive disorder about food, that it became counterproductive. And I can really see that a lot of people in the health and wellness world end up at this point where they're so obsessed with their nutrition, their supplementation, their exercise, to the point where it ends up maybe even being counterproductive. Now, things really started to shift for me when I came across the science of light and how it affects our health. I came across research talking about mitochondria and how they're the energy producers in our cells and how they play such a critical role in the interplay between health and disease. When the mitochondria work well, we have health. The body has all the energy it needs to carry out all of its processes. And when the mitochondria don't work well, we have disease, effectively. The body can't do all the things it needs to do. And I learned that light is one of the single most important factors influencing mitochondrial health, both directly and indirectly. Light directs our body's circadian rhythm, the body clock, which is responsible for mitochondrial activity, mitochondrial repair, mitochondrial energy production, and so much more. And light influences mitochondria directly through our skin. It's been shown that near-infrared penetrates even all the way through our torso. This near-infrared light from the sun actually benefits the body's natural production of energy. It increases ATP production in the mitochondria without consuming any more food or changing anything else. Light increases energy production in our cells. And this is our natural state. In nature, I realized we would always be outdoors in the sun, whether in direct sunlight or even in the shade. It doesn't matter because we're still getting huge doses of near-infrared. But when we're in a modern indoor environment like we all live in today, under artificial lights, which have been stripped of the beneficial near-infrared, we don't have any of these healing wavelengths of light. And so I realized just how big of a deal light was, because as we've gone from, living under sunlight to firelight to candlelight to gaslight to even incandescent lamps, which were artificial but still had a lot more of the good red and near-infrared light and very little of the more risky, potentially damaging blue wavelengths, which during the day can be good and beneficial, but in the evening are a real problem for disrupting our sleep. I realized that a large portion of the modern illnesses people are facing today are directly caused and driven by this incongruent light environment we're constantly living in. So among other things, I started going out in the morning sunlight and exposing myself to this light to help regulate my body clock. I started, sunbathing in a very intelligent and calculated way to make sure I was getting beneficial vitamin D. I started even eating my meals outside, because it's been shown that when you eat outside, you actually have a lower blood sugar because the mitochondria are more able to effectively burn and process the food and calories we're consuming. But one of the most critical pieces was how to mitigate all of the artificial light that I was constantly exposed to in school and in the evening everywhere I went. So I learned about this concept of blue light blocking glasses, lenses specifically designed based on the science to filter the wavelengths of light that dysregulate and disrupt our body's natural circadian rhythm, and therefore our cellular repair, the release of melatonin when we sleep, melatonin goes in and heals our cells effectively. Now, the only products available on the market at the time were two categories. One, clear lenses, which were in maybe some kind of stylish frames. But the problem is that the clear lenses don't block the wavelengths of blue light that are actually of concern for modern screen devices and LEDs. They block a little bit of the light that comes from the sun, but really none of the light emitted by modern screen devices and LEDs. It's actually crazy that they're actually selling them as blue light glasses when you can test them with the spectrometer and see that they don't block any of the light emitted by a modern screen device or LED that they're claiming to protect from. So that wasn't an option because I needed the health benefits and I was obsessed with this and still am. Now, the other category of products were lenses like safety goggles, which actually blocked some of the right spectrum of light or even maybe all of it. But they were these clunky, cheap, low quality glasses, which you could buy them for, $20, but they weren't something that I felt comfortable wearing. They weren't a high quality optical product. They were like a safety product for construction workers for specific applications. They did the job, but they didn't do the job at the same time because I was in high school. I wanted to go to parties. I wanted to meet girls. I wanted to be kind of normal, And to wear a colored lens is one thing, but to wear a Terminator goggle is a whole different thing. And that really wasn't going to fly, especially at that time. Now, fashion's changed a bit. But anyway, I realized that there was a huge gap in the market when I started to, I had a pair custom made for myself. I started to go on podcasts to talk about the science. And one podcast where I went and met was actually formerly a fashion stylist. And he said, "Hey, where'd you get those cool glasses?" And I tried to connect him with the company to do it. It was a whole process and it wasn't really efficient. And I realized, wait, people actually want this. So I realized that I could actually do this process. I could tint the lenses for him and create a product which both blocked the right wavelengths of light based on what the science was saying and combined that with a stylish, high quality and attractive frame. And that's how Raw Optics was born. It actually started in my garage tinting lenses. We had a production line. We had hot plates, beakers, like in chemistry class. We had lens holders. We had the tint bottles. We'd heat it up. We'd dip the lenses and people would send in their own frames. But very quickly, I read enough business books and startup books to learn that you should really listen to your customers. And one customer said, "Hey man, I love this idea. I'd love if I could just buy a product from you. I don't want to have to send in my own frame. It's too much thinking. Let me just buy something from you. I want your styles." So Raw Optics was the first company to combine lenses that block the right wavelengths of light truly based on the science in a way that maximized both blue light protection and visual comfort and clarity and usability with frames which are high quality, attractive, and stylish, something people would feel comfortable and good about wearing in general. And as a result of this, I would say very simple but powerful innovation and step in the right direction in blue light protection technology, utilizing the science of light, we very quickly had some really significant people wearing our glasses like Rick Rubin and celebrity athletes, professional sports players, top leading health and wellness experts like Ben Greenfield and Paul Chek and so many others. And it really just started to take on a life of its own. And so Raw Optics really was born out of my own personal journey to try to understand my health and well-being and realizing that we're living in a modern world, which is really antithetical to optimal human health. The modern artificial lights, which we spend 92% of our time under, as the average American is spending 92% of their time indoors, according to government data. It's a horrible environment for our cells. We're lacking this beneficial red and near infrared wavelength range of light that is so important for energy production, for the production of antioxidants, and for health and well-being, while at the same time being bombarded by this super powerful, high energy blue light, which both physically can cause damage to our eyes and our skin, and especially dysregulate the underlying processes in the body by disrupting our hormonal system, by overstimulating the production of cortisol constantly throughout the day. And increased stress is associated with increases of nearly every disease and weakened immunity and so many more things that are undesirable. And so Raw Optics blue light protection glasses give people an opportunity to take their power back in the modern world, to protect themselves from all of the artificial lights which we're exposed to, and to experience a totally different life in the same world, essentially. And that's really what we believe in. I and we as a company believe that everybody has this unlimited potential inside of them, which wants to come out and is actually begging to come out. And when we start making moves in the right direction for our health and we start taking care of our health, and it can be as simple as a pair of glasses, we can give people such a transformational experience. And then they start to ask, what else could I do? Where else could I improve? Maybe I should be making, because to make changes in your diet is a lot harder than putting on a pair of glasses. But when you boost your dopamine, you improve your brain function, you improve your energy, you're going to start making better decisions everywhere in your life. Working out the way you need, eating the way you need, taking the supplements you need, and so on. And so Ra Optics allows people to take back their power in the modern world, to protect themselves from harmful artificial light, to sleep better, to have more energy, to feel better, to reduce their stress levels, to protect their eyes, and so much more. And it's as simple as a pair of glasses. So I'm really glad that I was able to create this company and to offer these benefits to the world.